Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for allowing us to brief you guys on our departments. I say we because I consider all of us a team. You'll notice on mine, there's a little code up there. Is there anyone that doesn't know what that code is? It's called a quick response code. And you can program these codes to do basically anything. In this particular one, if you were to scan it with your phone, it would open up our web page. So that's basically what that is. And I actually put a larger one in case somebody wanted to try it. But I stood up there a little while ago, and when you're standing up there with the phone, it looks like a white screen, so you really can't scan it.
At home on your TV, we've got some of those on the not only the website, but on Channel 10. And if you'll do that on your smartphone or your iPad, it pops up the website, and you're sitting right there, you can go to the website, which is kind of cool.
I'm a little behind this curve. You mean take your smartphone and take a picture?
Do a QR scan?
You can. There's a
scan application.
A little application you can download for free, and there's a lot of different ones out there. They're called QR code scanners. It's a quick reference or a quick response code scanner, and it looks just like you're taking a picture. And when you scan it, whatever that's embedded into that image will execute. So it'll bring it up. It could be your contact information, and it puts it right into the phone. So a lot of people, if you have business cards, and my business card has a QR code. If I give it out to a company or one of the vendors, they can scan it, and it brings up the Wayne County website for them.
It's a great marketing tool. Great marketing tool.
I've got 7 basic areas that I'm going to cover today. Just going to quickly go over department responsibilities, how many employees we have in their positions. And I know this is a yes or no question, but I want to go into that a little bit deeper. That's why I added it up here, whether or not we're mandated by law. What our goals are and how we are going to attempt to accomplish these goals. We're going to look at our current budget for this fiscal year. Potential issues as a result of federal and state cuts in their budgets. And lastly, some of the trends in IT that are affecting our data center and how we do business every day. From a high-level view, this is what IT does. We provide Wayne County a technological vision of where the technology is going, and we try to stay ahead of the curve, basically, so that we can, instead of being behind the curve, so to speak, we can be right in the middle of it and make sure that the technology that we have in place in our data center is going to be the technology that is going to be used essentially across the board, from public sector, private sector. Good example of that is virtualization. You hear about cloud, using the cloud and virtualization and things like that. A few years ago, that was something you heard about, but it wasn't really very widely used. Today, that's almost the standard now. Server virtualization and desktop virtualization go hand in hand, and this is, one of the things IT does is we look at where the technology's at, and we try to bring it to Wayne County so that we can utilize it to save money and be more efficient. Responsibilities. I could read down through every one of these, but essentially anything to do with our network, fiber, computer systems, phone systems, you name it, IT's responsible for it. And this is fairly new for us, support remote work from home. With our virtual environment, our Citrix virtualized desktop service that we can provide, literally you can work from anywhere. We have some DSS workers that work right from their house now, and it's like they're working they're right at their desk at work. There's no difference. And you can, basically do the same thing on your cell phone or your iPad or a computer system over at your friend's house. So all you need is an internet connection to log back in now. So we are the remote work. The remote worker is something I think you're going to see is going to become more and more prevalent as the years go on, because the technology now is going to allow us to basically work from home or or be very mobile and still be able to do our job no matter where we are.
Question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Pate.
Those workers who are working from home, you said they have to have their own internet connection. Are we
Yes.
subsidizing that any, or are they?
No, no.
They just choose to work?
Now,
from home?
I suppose there could be situations where if that was something that a department specifically hired somebody on to do, that would be something we could, that would probably be in the contract.
I don't think we've run into it yet.
We haven't
It
yet.
just popped in my mind. so.
And most of those who volunteered for it knew they had access or had something to have access.
Yeah. Information security, and I put in quotes, cybersecurity. You're going to hear probably more and more about this. Lee had sent me an article a while ago in the paper, and even though information security, it's just protecting our data, protecting the data center, physically protecting it, but the cybersecurity is also making the users, the end user, the average county employee informed enough to know just standard security procedures, not to walk away from your desk and leave your computer open to where somebody could walk up and just do something with your user ID and password. Some things as simple as that. That requires some training for the end user. That's something you're going to see more and more. Mobile device support. We are fairly new in the game in this, and this is what they call mobile device management, MDM. We basically are able to remotely manage an iPad or an iPhone or an Android device. We can wipe it remotely. We can add software to it. We can configure it, your email and things like that. This is going to become more and more prevalent as the years go on, especially when we get our wireless system in place, and I'll cover that in a few minutes. Mobile data terminals. For those of you that may not know what those are, it's the laptop that's inside of the Sheriff's Department's vehicles, or the Goldsboro Police Department, or any other sheriff, deputy, or police officer that uses a laptop that connects back to a remote system where they can look up license plates and things like that. They can look up all kinds of information. But it's the mobile data terminals are something that we, went forward a little bit. We maintain and manage, and we manage all the software in those for the Sheriff's Office. Network and information security. That's all of the equipment that we use, like network access control, firewalls, things like that protect our data from hackers and things like that. Developing solutions for business processes. I added this because you'll have a Word document. It's a separate sheet with a lot of information that I think it's titled Developing Solutions for Business Processes. Those are things that I want to say the IT department, but it's really Chris Stone, who is really a good programmer by nature, has done to automate a lot of the business processes in Wayne County. He's done a lot of things for accounting and finance. He's done for CHIP, the tax office, multiple offices that has saved, I mean, literally, and I know I'm not even joking when I say this, hundreds of thousands of dollars to Wayne County taxpayers because of how it automates the processes and really saves time and money. I think Pam recently, Chris, I don't know all the details, but something to do with the auditing. So, he was able to recoup over $1 million for them. So a lot of these processes that Chris has gone in and developed for these departments have really saved the departments a lot of money and continue to save the departments a lot of money every single day. Security and video recording. Everything, all these security and video cameras, although that's managed by OES, of course, they all connect to our network through fiber, through our interconnections, through Wayne County's network, and also we back up all of their data for them every night. Wayne Gov TV, or Wayne Goldsboro TV, sorry. We basically set that up from scratch. The IT department, Chris Stone had a very large part in doing that. And we manage the whole system, the back-end system that manages this, or controls that whole system. Payment card, PCI, it's basically all the processes that we have in place to make sure that we don't get a lawsuit if somebody gets identity theft and things like that. Point-of-sale devices, which we have 6 or 7 around the county. We have one at the library, we have some at the health department, one at the Register of Deeds, and a few other places. You know, we just have certain requirements that we have to meet, standards, and to prevent being out of compliance and potentially get a lawsuit if we're not in compliance. Basically, every application that's on the Wayne County network for every single department, you know, we are responsible for. And again, you know, everybody expects us to be the experts on every application as well, so it's not just maintaining the equipment. We really do have to understand and know these applications well enough to be able to fix any problems that come up. And this is something, you know, you might not be aware of, but Pistol RMS, or I call it the Law Enforcement Records Management System. We manage that system for all of these departments in Wayne County. So there isn't a sheriff's office, or you know, we got Pikeville, Fremont, Seymour Johnson, Security Forces. All of them connect back in through Pistol RMS that we provide access to that database. So we manage all of those department systems for them. Okay, staff. When I got here, we had 12 employees. We eliminated 2 positions, and then we took on a position from the, we had inherited a position from the library. But essentially, I have 1 part-time position, an office manager. That's Pam Adams. The operations manager is Chris Stone. He's like our engineer. And then we have senior systems administrator and two junior systems administrators. The library is systems administrator, and 3 desktop technicians and a tax programmer. The tax programmer specifically works tax issues. He takes care of all of the daily processes for tax. We're not mandated by law. However, there's a lot of things that we support that are mandated by law. HIPAA guidelines, red flag, you know, for identity theft, PCI, things like that. That's just to name a few. Our goals, obviously, provide good excellent customer service, move towards disaster avoidance, and I would like to explain exactly what that is. We talk about disaster recovery, but the future is what they call disaster avoidance. And real quick, in a nutshell, disaster recovery is when, if you have a disaster, you're able to recoup the information, put it back in a reasonable amount of time. Disaster avoidance, because of virtualization and because of technology the way it is now and how fast it's moving, we're able to set up we're going to be able to set up an identical data center very inexpensively, and no matter if this courthouse blows up, nobody's going to know it, because we're still going to be able to continue to operate. And that's where the future is going to be. We're going to be able to have two complete data centers that are redundant. Instead of disaster recovery, we'll have disaster avoidance, which means we won't have to worry about this or that building going out. Okay. And of course, making sure all of our systems are performing optimally. Goals. What do we intend to accomplish? How do we intend to accomplish our goals? Well, obviously, good working conditions, maintaining good quality technicians, and competitive salaries. We have a very high-tech system, and it takes really sharp people to run this environment. Support from management, financial funding for the disaster avoidance, and information security and cybersecurity training to our employees, and backup generator. This is one thing that we're having an issue with now. And I want to go into just explain the importance of why we have to protect our data center, so that if we don't have a backup generator and our systems go out, every hour that we don't have our systems up and running the way we are currently running, it costs a lot of money. 3,250,000 is what the salary is for this past month for Wayne County. I think it varies up and down, but that's what it was this last month. 174 hours is how many hours a month we work. That's 18,700 per hour, rounded up. And about 15,000 of that is directly affects our, is how much the hourly wage would be for the employees that are directly affected. So if we lost our data center, that would be $150,000 a day in lost productivity. And that's just in wages. That's not including lost revenues or anything like that as a result. So it's very critical to have a functioning data center. Our annual budget, this includes wages, salaries, all that stuff, benefits. Buildings and structures, you see 154,000, that was services on aging. Facility, capital, and I've got a little bit more of a breakout here. I put the CIP and the operation and maintenance in there.
Can I go back to that slide?
Yeah.
Benefits you're showing there is 165,000 with wages of 549. That's 30% benefit rate?
No, I look at everything in our budget that is part of the overall budget, the insurance, life insurance, everything that makes up all of that. And I don't have the individual breakouts of all of it, but it's the same for every Wayne County employee. That's no different.
Get your numbers right.
That's about 32%.
It runs anywhere from 29 to 30%. And this year, and it ticked up this year because the state retirement requirement for the counties went up a couple percentage points, and that really hit us this year. That was big. And will go up every year for the next, Pam, 4 or 5 years? 2 more years of it. It's heavy. Plus the unemployment hit this year is going to be a big hit. Sorry for the sidetrack, but that's something to really zero in on.
Well, I zeroed in on it.
Oh, yeah, well, it is what it is. I'm just telling you, it's tough.
So 30% of your salaries.
Because we are a labor service unit. We are people predominantly.
You got a 401K also, up 2% match, 2%?
If they
Yeah.
contribute.
Right.
Yeah. And everybody does.
Mr. Acock?
If they contribute.
Well, that's pretty much in private industry too. I mean, they run what, 25? It was at one. It may be less than that now, but at one time it was somewhere around 25.
Yeah. Just depends. The big problem is well, let's say problem. The one that really is state requirement of state retirement. You're required to put in, and it's a big chunk of money. So anyway.
Let me clarify that. When I said private industry, I mean the larger companies. I mean small companies
That
probably.
offer larger benefits.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Sorry for the sidetrack.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll be talking about a lot of detail when we get involved.
Okay.
Yeah, plenty of time.
Okay, this is just I excluded salary. This is salaries and benefits on this one. This is just primarily our maintenance and capital improvement plan and all that, and the rest of our budget broken out. If you were to take out the capital improvement plan, because it really is a separate budget altogether, our maintenance and repair would be around 52%. So the maintenance of our equipment is the majority of our budget.
What is your CIP going to be this year?
Our CIP it was $310,000 this past year.
Right.
This coming budget year, I think it's going to be around 97, 98. I can't remember the exact
Okay.
number off the top of my head.
Thanks.
It's much lower.
Thank you.
Budget impact from the federal and the federal budgets and the state budgets. Well, we don't really know what that's going to be yet, but we do know that if they're not getting the funding and they're not able to pay for the maintenance of the equipment and they're not able to pay for future technology requirements, that's going to be pushed right back on the county. So, that could be an impact on Wayne County if the federal budgets are affected. And some of these I'm going to try to go through fairly quickly. One of the things, the big thing here is storage. With the paperless environment, everybody's wanting to scan and go paperless. Well, you got to have some place to store those images. You got to have some place to put all that data, and that's where they put it in our storage area network. It's basically a big hard drive, essentially. It's multiple hard drives that we store all of our data centrally. And that is really driving our disk storage space right now in the county, is a lot of these paperless initiatives. Laserfish, DSS, just a few years ago we had 0 images stored. Now we have over 25 million just in DSS. Register Deeds has another 2.2. Then the Board of Elections, they have a large number as well. I don't know what that number is right now. Video storage, security, that is a huge amount of data that we have to store every day. And it actually accounts for 25% of our backups every night, storage space. And I just kind of threw this in here just to give you an idea that 25 million records, scan records, is about 1.5 terabytes. And a terabyte is 1 trillion bytes. And basically, you could put 300 hours of good quality video or 1,000 copies of the Britannica Encyclopedia. If you had 10 terabytes, we have about 30 terabytes, by the way. You could put the printed copy of the Library of Congress. So that gives you kind of an idea of how much data we're talking about. That's constantly increasing all the time.
Question.
Yes, sir. Spade.
When you're storing those files from the county, and certain people, I assume they're running it, putting it on their desktop, they're putting that out on the land. Do you look at it as an agency, say DSS, or do you look at the individual amount of storage they've got? Do you monitor that and let them know where you're getting too high, you need to back off and clean up your records?
Well, each department has a personal profile that they can store their data. It's such a small amount of data, having the personal files, that we haven't really set huge restrictions. Where we set our restrictions is with email, because the emails can come in, you can get inundated with thousands and thousands of emails. We filter something in the area of like 25 million emails a month or something like that. So emails is really where we put a lot of restrictions. The data, we don't put as many restrictions. There probably is a limit. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but you can pretty much store just about anything right now on your computer, your documents and stuff. Of course, we don't want music and things like that unless it's, and if we do find things like that, we will remove them. Wireless, that's another technology trend, and everybody knows wireless devices, iPads, iPhones, smartphones. We have a wireless plan that was in our CIP last year. It is going into effect. Our actual project doesn't start until May. That's around 89,000, I think, is what that project is. Many of the IT, you'll notice that many of the IT, a lot of our spending is in maintenance, and it occurs in the later part of the year. So we haven't even executed a lot of our budget right now because the maintenance contracts aren't due. But as they come due in April, May, and June, you'll see those numbers increase because we have to execute those maintenance contracts.
You're not going to carry them over to July, are you?
No.
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 No, we have April and May was fine, but when you hit June, I said, when is it going to be July?
No, we have
Pay
to
it out.
execute them this year.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And did I
Mr. Dart?
hear you just state it was $89,000 for your wireless?
Yeah, it's 89 and some change. I don't know the exact
What is all
number.
that going to include?
The
Going wireless at each facility?
Well, eventually we will. That includes the primary infrastructure for the wireless, and then the access points for the first 5 facilities. So once we have the infrastructure in place, they're called wireless controllers. Once we have all of that in place, and then we're only adding wireless access points to the other facilities. But the big cost this year is really in the infrastructure, of the wireless infrastructure. Next year, if you look at the CIP, there is 30-something thousand in there, I think, for the wireless, but it's all access points, site surveys. We have to have the company out, like county office building, for instance. We have to do a site survey to determine how many access points we need, where they're going to be located, and then we can determine what the cost is going to be in that facility.
And the advantages of going wireless?
Well, we're going to add public wireless and secured wireless in the county. One of the advantages long-term is going to be this. You're going to be able to take what they call bring your own device. Instead of us buying people devices, buying people iPads, buying people phones and things, we'll allow them to bring their own phones, their own iPads, and we can secure those devices and allow them to come onto our network without having to pay for 3G or 4G services or anything like that. Right now, a lot of the iPads out there, we went from zero cost on 3G, 4G for iPads to about $12,000 annual cost. So we're going to be eliminating a lot of those costs once we get wireless. And as you know, iPads are a fairly new item. They haven't been around that many years. So as the mobile market increases and as it becomes more prevalent in business, day-to-day activities, it's going to save us money long-term, because instead of having to pay for 3G services, facilities can go to any facility in Wayne County, and they're going to have wireless access, and we don't have to pay that $37.99 per device, monthly fee. So long-term, it's going to save money. It's going to provide access for the public. It's going to give us secured access capability, which we don't have now. We could set up your iPad or your iPhone or anything once we have this, and you can log into our network and actually access everything exactly the way you could.
When you say you have when you say you have an access to the public, are we going to be providing we're going to be a wireless provider in the county?
It's
in our
just in the facilities, not
like the courthouse for when we're in court for attorneys, because they'll be pulling down documents. Particularly, this was kind of the test model, because we have so many visitors that come in here to work from, I was thinking the industrial or whatever, they do the hearings here. They come in and want wireless. I mean, these attorneys come in, you don't plug in anymore. It's wherever you are.
So the wireless is only going to be within our facilities?
Yes.
We're not going to be
not
offering
outside.
wireless like a wireless,
no.
excuse me,
It's only
like
for
a wireless phone as such. I mean, we're not going to have.
No.
Okay.
No.
Mr. Pate,
Question, is the security on the secured wireless better than it used to be? Because I know hardwired systems are a lot more, kind of put vulnerabilities.
Yeah, it's a lot better, and we have a system already in place called network access control that actually even puts more security. Without network access control, we would not even consider doing a wireless system, because we wouldn't be able to secure it as well as we should. But we have that in place already, and the wireless will be much more secure than just a standard. It's much more secure than it used to be.
Do we monitor, attacks on our system, and some way to watch that? Because I'm sure you probably had some hacking attacks on our system. Have we had those?
Yeah, we do get people trying to hack it.
We get hits.
Well, I'm sure you do.
Yeah, we do all the time. To be honest, one of the biggest threats is our own employees. Sharing passwords, putting their passwords underneath their keyboard, staying logged in and walking away from their desk, things like that. Walking away with confidential information on a thumb drive or something like that.
But that never happens.
Yeah. That is a risk we can't control. All we can do is minimize it through education and training, and that's something that I am going to be focusing on a lot more this next year. Virtualization, again, we're already doing it. We've got about 450 desktops eliminated right now, and we've replaced them with these little thin client devices. So, and I would love, for you guys to come and visit the department sometime so we could go through and I could show you some of the things that we've done and explain this in more detail. But internal customers, technology trends. The more that people are going to be using technology, the more wireless, the more people are going to paperless environment, it really it affects us directly. We have to have, technology allows you to streamline your processes, it allows you to be more effective, more efficient, it allows you to really minimize the costs on in a lot of different areas. And desktop virtualization is one of those huge areas where, you know, the device is about $250 to $300, where a desktop is going to cost you around $1,000. But the desktop can get a virus. The desktop can have a hard drive that fails. A desktop can be stolen, and there'll be data on the desktop that you can't secure. The devices that we're implementing now have nothing on them. Everything is stored in our data center. So if somebody were to steal that device, they would get nothing. It's a paperweight for them. The only way they could get into our network is to be plugged into our network and know a user ID and password and log in. That's the only way they're going to get the data. Can't get viruses. Our hard drives cannot crash because there is no hard drive in the devices. They produce almost no heat, so they save. They're very energy efficient. They're much more recyclable than a computer because they're only about that big. So the virtualization that we've done for the county has really saved a lot of money, and it's going to continue to save money every day. Not to mention the electrical savings. It's about 1/7 of what a computer system costs in electricity per year. So it's a huge savings. This is just some example of maintenance, and I've talked about maintenance a little bit. These are what some of the maintenance contracts cost. Our backup system, $45,000 a year just to maintain that system. It's very expensive. VoIP, that's all of the infrastructure that we have, our fiber network, our routers, our switches, everything. That includes it covers all the maintenance and anything that could go wrong with our infrastructure is covered in our silver support contract. Now, if we didn't have that, we probably have to have about another 2 to 3 manning positions at least in infrastructure, which would actually cost a lot more money than what a maintenance contract costs you. So,
Sure.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I have one question. I see on the technology trends that we're looking at, the GEMS Finance and Human Resource Management is $40,000. Do you know what the Ceridian charge was for this? When we had Ceridian?
Well, the maintenance, the reoccurring maintenance?
Yeah.
Well, we never went through a whole year, so I don't even know what it would have been. That's the maintenance cost is typically the cost, the reoccurring maintenance that you'd pay after you do the initial implementation of the project. Now, I'm not sure what that is. So I don't know what that would have been.
Yeah, so
on Ceridian, it would have been, I think it was $8,000 a month. I believe my number would be pretty close. It would have been about $8,000 a month. Yeah.
Okay.
48.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Any questions
A lot
for
of
the
information,
commissioners?
I know.
I just want to make one.
Yes, sir, Mr. Aycock.
Yes, I was in a couple of work sessions last week pertaining to the cybersecurity and all. In Homeland Security on the federal level and state level, they are really concerned about the cybersecurity. Their feelings are that the right people can do more damage attacking smaller operations like, say, our county level than the federal levels. And just as a taxpayer and a citizen, I'd like to see us stay on top of our security.
Yeah, and cybersecurity is we have, as far as, there's a lot of pieces that go along with that. It's not just, communicating to your employees that, hey, you need to worry about this and you can't do this, and because they're going to do it anyways. You've got to have the infrastructure, you've got to have the security in place, and you've got to have accountability. So I think from a security perspective, we have done really well. We've got a really good system in place. Most counties don't have NAC, what they call NAC, Network Access Control. What that does is around the county where, instead of our data center, which is where the firewall is, in most places we'll have a firewall in their data center, but anything outside of the data center is not secured. If I walk up to a jack and plug my laptop into a jack over at the Jeffries building, where somebody's laptop is, or somebody's computer is, and I plug my laptop in there, I can go in and I can hack away all day long if I don't have NAC. If I don't have what NAC does, it secures the perimeter devices in your network. Everything that's out there in all of our buildings, all of our switches and all of our routers and all of our network jacks and cabling and everything, it secures that. It doesn't allow, if somebody tries to come in and hack into our network, it shuts the ports off if they're not authenticated and they're not using a device that is something that we've approved on our network. So our network, from that perspective, you should be feel really good about that. I would say 95% of the counties out there don't have this system in place. So from a security perspective, we're looking really good.
One of the things that was amazing to me was they were talking about passwords. The difference in how long you can say a 4-letter password compared to a 12-letter password, the difference in time frame on a hacker breaking it. I mean, it's just it blew my mind, the difference in just that number of digits.
Yeah, and that is true. We have, our password policy is 8 characters.
Okay.
And it has to be letters, numbers, uppercase, lowercase, special character. So, there is some complexity to it. If you make it too complex, then users can't remember them. And then we spend the majority of our time handling service calls for people that are locked out of their computer systems. So yeah, there's kind of a middle there that you have to meet. If you go too strict, it's just too difficult for them to remember. But let me tell you, we'll say this: if a hacker wants to get into your network and they're good enough, Chinese hackers, the China government, they've been renowned for hacking into our federal government, and very verbal about it. There's nothing we could do about that. I mean, they would get in. And if a hacker's really wanting to get in, they'll get in somehow. There's so many different ways to do it.
Any other questions? I have one, I guess, question/comment. I like the word remote, mobile, and distant, but this is, to me, remote worker versus the current employee. The flex work week or the flex time you were talking about, these remote workers, and how we can cut down on the labor and get these sort of stop the back and forth. And I guess my concern would be, how do you gauge it, and how do you use it to have me as a layman, a commissioner, to understand every 2 years you're going to hear, or every 4 years you're going to hear, we're going to make it better, we're going to make it better. It's high tech, but yet our labor is the same, or our labor is going up, our insurance, it's just Social Security. So I guess my concern is, how do you know that what you're doing is going to reduce the overall pay expenditures?
Well, as far as mobile workers are concerned, what the IT department has done is given people the ability to do that. They have the ability to create a position, or to convert a position into a work at home, for instance. If they have somebody that predominantly, all they do is come and they sit down at their desk and they're not servicing customers, physically servicing customers, they may be able to take that position and make it a work at home position. I say work at home or mobile, whatever you want to call it, and eliminate that physical position. From that person having to come to work. And then you're looking at they don't have to pay for gas and all that other stuff. And but that is something, we can give them the tools to do that, but it's up to departments to start looking at those things as we progress in the virtual environment. I mean, I can log in from anywhere. I can take my phone and do it, and I can go just about anywhere, and as long as I have an internet connection, I can get back and do my job. I can, you know, I can do it as though I'm sitting at my desk. So it really depends on, I have one worker that is a mobile worker. He stays at home all the time. He does everything for the tax department, and he does it remotely. He doesn't even need to come in. But if you ask the tax department, could you function without IT, they would say no.
I was going to say, how do you
Without
gauge his
question.
productivity? How do you gauge his productivity? I guess you just give him tasks to do and he accomplishes the
Well,
task.
because in, like, for instance, in tax, in this instance, he has to accomplish these X number of things every day. If they're not done, it's immediate effect to the, yeah. I mean, it's an immediate effect.
DSS is the same way, it's production. And you can quantify it when you look at, are they hitting those deadlines? You know, when the person in DSS hitting checks for errors, are they more effective? You know, are they making more errors? So you can gauge, does it work? You know, we've had some workers, we had to bring them back in. It didn't work.
Okay.
And some it does. So it's
Well, recouping $1 million, as you said Pam did, that's pretty good. Do we have a budget amendment on that?
I don't have one asking for more.
good answer.
As far as working from home, I was wondering if we could do that for commissioners.
Just put a screen.
Let's put a screen out there.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.